Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous, fabulous TV show. Tonya.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited that you're back on the show. We have got a fabulous guest today, Miss Sarah Laughton. Yay, Sarah.
Hi. Hello. I'm so excited to be on the show today, Tonya.
Me too. So y'all going to hear from Sarah in just a minute. She's way up there in Canada. When I'm down here in Texas, everything seems far away. I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit about your fears today. Okay, so this is your Tonya tip for today. You have to get through your fears. You've got to make movement happen. And I know how hard it is. I had so many fears, it was ridiculous. I wrote them all out in 2005. It was like man and tie, ooh, scary, And so everything that I had on there, including public speaking, and just name it, I had a fear of it. I went and did that year. I just crossed it off the list. And what you find is the more you do, the easier it gets. Because then you realize, oh, well, that guy didn't, hit me or was ugly to me or anything. He was really nice, and you start seeing that you have all these amazing opportunities that you haven't been taking advantage of because you've just been afraid to. And people are out there and they want to help. People want to help. I want to help. Sarah wants to help. Everybody wants to help. And all you have to do is ask. If you're like, I want to do a Google Hangout or I want to do Skype. I remember the first time I had to do Skype, I was like, I have to Skype with a person in England. And then I did it. I'm like, oh, well, that was just like a phone call. I don't know why it freaked me out, but it totally freaked me out. And then once I did, I'm like, okay, that was not a big deal at all. So I want you to get through it. And I know a lot of your fears are from failure. And I want you to get through that too, because you have to fail. Failure is not a bad thing. It just means you're learning what didn't work. Okay? Maybe it's something on your computer. Maybe you're going to do a TV show with me or something and your headset didn't work or your camera didn't work. Am I going to be upset? No. Okay? Because that's what it is. It's about learning how to use systems, learning how to do things. I've got a lady who's learning to email. Can you believe in 2015 she's learning to email? It's been a huge fear of hers. She wants to write everything out perfectly. I'm like, nobody writes anything perfect anymore. Everything's in acronyms. It drives me crazy. But, get over it. So whatever it is, I want you to move forward. And that's why I wanted Sarah to come in today, because she is amazing and she's got so much information that's in her little noggin that she's about to give you. So how are you doing, Sarah?
Oh, Tonya, I'm doing really well. And I love I love that tip you just talked about. I think that's something people think is that when you're out there in the public like you are, or when you're putting yourself out there as an entrepreneur, that you have no fear anymore and you're just taking on the world. And it's kind of such a load of baloney because we all constantly have fear, right?
Even today, people are like, oh, that was probably so easy for you. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like those voices don't go away. We just learn amazing, powerful tools to manage them. Yes. But we still deal with them and we take action, like you said. Keep taking action. That's called courage, right? When you take action in the face of your fear.
We are powerful beings. We can do this. So tell us, Sarah, a little bit about you and what you've gone through in your little life.
In my little life. Well, I am a productivity coach and trainer. So what the heck does that mean? I don't train you how to do harder, better, faster, more. That is certainly not my definition of productivity. So I train you how to quiet. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's like a lot of noise in our world, right? Around us in our environment and in our heads. And I really train people how to quiet that noise and how to get really focused on what matters to them or their company or their organization or their group, and then to deliver on that. I create great systems with people that allow you to keep managing that little inner dialogue. I'm scared, I can't, and to be powerful in the face of it. And so I guess the story about my little life is I started working for Shell Canada, so oil and gas. And I started working in the oil and gas industry about 10 years ago. And I did all kinds of different jobs. I'm trained as a geologist. And I have 2 kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. When I had my boy, my second, I got pretty depressed. And I had a really hard time. I got caught up in perfection, Tonya. Do you know anything about that?
No.
Yes. Perfectionism is like the recipe for depression, right?
Yeah.
So I got pretty depressed, and I thought I had to be the perfect mom and do everything. And I started feeling sorry that my kids were born to me because I was so bad and imperfect.
And don't you find that a lot of women have this issue? They think that suddenly, when I had my daughter, I went into the postpartum depression type of thing. And I mean, I was suddenly wearing clothes that I would have never worn any other time, but I thought I had to be the mommy look, and do the mommy things.
Yeah, I think it's really rampant. I don't think we support each other enough as mothers at all. I thought I'd join this sisterhood of how, being a mom, and there's all kinds, just like everything in this world, there's all kinds of different moms. There's, the competitiveness can come out in some people, and on the, I'm not good enough and I have to do this to compensate, wear these clothes to look like a mom. All that comes out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I even found even within the mom, other mothers that I thought were going to be great support systems, even family members suddenly was telling me, well, why are you doing it that way? I never did that. And, everyone had an opinion, and I didn't know what to do because I had all this conflicting, well, my book didn't say to do it that way.
Yes. And you can find yourself a book on any darn whim that appears in your head too. That's something that got me. It's like, oh, well, my book doesn't say that. And then someone else says, well, my book says this. And, well, what's that book? Well, maybe I should be reading that one. Oh, no. Yeah. So I got really caught up, and I got very depressed, and it was postpartum as well. And I got anxiety. I wasn't sleeping. Even after my kids were sleeping, I wasn't. I decided I need to go back to work. So I went back to work a little early into my mat leave. In Canada, we get a glorious 12-month mat leave. I don't know how you do it in the States, really.
12 months? Yeah. Or just 6 weeks. Let's get back.
It's unbelievable. So I went back a little early because I was so depressed, and I was in counseling. And my counselor said, let's get you out of the house. Let's get you back to where your identity is more diversely defined, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I got back to work, lo and behold, I clashed brutally with my manager. And that had never happened to me. I was known for strong interpersonal skills my whole life. This had never happened to me on this level. And we clashed, and we were talking to HR, and I was in therapy talking about him, and he was gaining weight and unhappy, and he was very stressed in his role. So finally he quit. But when he quit, I got my performance review a couple months later, and it was kind of a huge kick in the pants. It was, you are failing. You're on a corrective action plan. Oh. I had never experienced that. And I had worked weekends and evenings. And so I was done with the corporate, HE double hockey sticks of the gas industry. I said, I'm out of there. I need to find a different world and career for myself. But one of my amazing friends told me about the Landmark Forum. So it's like a transformational educational company, kind of in that Tony Robbins choices kind of world. And I went to their weekend, and it completely changed my entire view of everything. And I was the cynical employee on Thursday, did Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the course. And remember, this is after a good year of therapy. And on the Monday, I just hit the ground running. I wanted my team to have awareness of how they could own their inner story, because that's what transformational education does, right? It teaches you, right? There's a lot of speakers you have that talk about this. When you own your story, you can pull it out into the light and see it for what it is, and then you can change it. You're powerful beyond all belief, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And don't you think too, because coming from it as a mother, and I look at other people who have children, I almost feel like I have got to show how wonderful and amazing that I am as a person so that my children understand that they can be just as powerful, just as amazing in their own personality and who they are personally, right? Without having to pretend that they're somebody else.
Yeah, that is one thing I really got in this education that I got from Landmark. It was about realizing that every moment I diminish myself and what I have to offer the world, I like diminish them. I rob them that opportunity to shine and own their shine, own their fabulousness, as you say, right? Yeah, like
Exactly.
I really saw that.
For a lot of people, it's a struggle, especially when they're wanting to become speakers. I find it a lot because they're like, oh, well, I see someone talking about this. I'm going to go speak about that. And it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with who they have been, who they are now, anything. Right? They're just like, well, that's a good idea. I'm going to go do that. Oh, I'm going to talk about Facebook and I'm going to be a Facebook expert. And I'm like, what?
It's not their self-expression, right? It's not their authentic self that they're putting out there. Yeah. And then it's funny because we see right through that, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On the
And,
other
it's
side.
interesting, too, even for you hear the voices of people, and a lot of it is very negative. I can't believe that you're, gonna do that presentation, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, why wouldn't I? It's such an amazing opportunity. It's who I am, and it's my knowledge is what I really know a lot about. And just in that fact that you're that amazing and you know that much about whatever it is, it could be how to file, how to do your filing. I mean, I don't know anything about filing, and this lady was like, but that's not interesting. I'm like, it sure is. But it's you making it interesting, right?
Yeah, like when you're really passionately moved and lifted up by something, you can make taking out the garbage interesting. I'm so excited about it. It makes me feel so good. It's so rewarding. It's out of my house. Like, oh, I'm so glad.
I know, and I see it with children too, people knocking children because they're interested in something to them that is just, absurd. Why would you be interested in that? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't they? I used to own science and nature stores, and we'd have kids that were fascinated with bugs. I just knew they were going to be an entomologist, but their families were just constantly pushing them away from that. And I thought, how sad is that? Whatever that spark is, it's your spark.
Yeah, and we get totally beaten down, I think, as kids to follow the norm and do what other people are doing and not be as self-expressed as we really know to be. I think you're so right about, even I do that as a parent. My kids will come home and say, look at this, isn't this great? I'll be like, yeah, that's okay. And then I have to go, wait a minute, look how excited this kid is. Hold them up, celebrate. I might not think that's interesting for me, but look how interested they are.
I know, my son likes the video games, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
teachers really have a problem with kids really liking video games. But his hand-eye coordination and what he's able to do so quickly and how he can make decisions, a lot of that comes from that repetitiveness, and growing yourself through those levels, to try to save the princess or whatever they're doing. And that competitiveness that comes out. And the other day he was asked by one of the big YouTubers to be on his team for whatever they were doing, whatever their team was going to go kill or whatever.
Was he thrilled?
Yeah, and he's 11. I mean, for him that was not only an honor, but if I had just gone, oh, okay, that would have diminished what he actually accomplished, because that was a huge accomplishment, and a lot of times we just don't understand it because it's not the world that we're in.
Tonya, I love so much what you're saying because, a huge foundation of my coaching and training and what I discovered for myself is that power to let go. such an underdeveloped muscle in our society. And when we can let go as parents and let go of the way things are supposed to look, or the way success is supposed to look, or happiness is supposed to, well, happiness can't be from video games. I don't know about that. If we can let that go and really build let go muscles. I mean, I let go of who I thought my husband had to be and why he wasn't reading my mind all the time.
You figured that out? I want to know that.
It's amazing when you let go of how other people have to read your mind. Like, I could love him, I could love him. When I let go of who I decided he had to be, if I let go of that, I could really discover and love who he is. And we keep practicing that in our marriage. It's so powerful.
Wow.
And it's really fundamental to how I train. It's like, let go, let go, let go, let go. Your past wants to relive itself. That's how your brain works.
Yeah.
All the fears, all the worries. When you let them go, there's so much space to play and experience life fully, right?
Yeah. Do you find that it's a challenge? What's like the challenge that most people have with that letting go when you're coaching people and all?
People always say to me, my clients say to me, well, how? How do I let go? Or I'm trying, I'm working on it. I'm working on letting go. And so there's two great ways to really own letting go. It's easy to let something go, and this happens to us naturally in our experiences. It's easy to let something go when the way it occurs to us fundamentally has shifted. So, when you don't floss your teeth, and then, let's say you're a parent and you go to the dentist and the dentist says, oh, your child really needs to be flossing. Do you floss? And in that moment, it's like, oh, I'm not a role model. I better floss. Maybe you have a dusty container in the drawer and you haven't for years, but suddenly you're flossing every night because it affects the quality of your kids' lives or something like that. When it occurs on that fundamental shift, then of course you're going to behave differently. You let go of your old story about flossing and now you have a new one. So when we want to cause that for ourselves, we have to see what's the impact of this story I have, this impact, like public speaking. What's the impact? Oh, I'm so scared of public speaking. Okay, I'm scared of public speaking. Well, my brain created that somewhere, somehow from my past. Okay, what's the impact that's having? I'm not getting out there. I'm not furthering my business. I'm not self-expressed. I'm not connecting with people. It's like the anti-sales job on your brain, right? You're trying to no, this isn't working for us. Give it up. Give it up. Once you really get that to your core, it's like, oh, that's really not working for me. Then it's easy to give it up. And sometimes I tell people to just chant, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. I give it up. I give present tense language. I give it up. I give up. I can't public speak. I give it up. I give it up. And sometimes you feel that space opening. It's just oh, something's opening in my head. Oh, well, I think I can do something I couldn't do.
Yeah, I know for me, because I've had such horrific things happen, in my past, and it was very tough. I mean, it took me until I was about 38 for me to really start going, okay, I got to get rid of this baggage.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just admitting that people are human, and they have their own issues going on. And it might not have been a perfect scenario, it might have been a really dysfunctional family, but it was because they were bringing their own baggage to the table. It had nothing to do with me, even though I was part of it,
Yeah, so little of it has anything to do with us. Isn't it crazy?
I know, right? I mean, I looked at my grandfather was a pedophile, and it took me a long time not only just to admit that, but then I started thinking about I would put myself in the scenarios that would lend to things happening. And a lot of it was because I was so thirsty for someone to pay any attention to me because my family was divorced and they had their own children and I felt very alone. And I thought, well, a lot of it is me seeking out that attention, no matter if it's bad or negative. I always think, children want some type of attention, even if it's bad.
Yeah.
And just kind of letting it go and saying, we're all human. Yeah, was it great? No. Would I want it to ever happen to anybody? No, but it happened. And let's move on. don't have him keep me from being as fabulous as I can be.
Oh, I love it, Tonya. It really reminds me of Brene Brown's popular book right now, Daring Greatly. And she talks about how the more we embrace our own vulnerability, when we see vulnerability in others, we see it as so courageous and strong. And yet we feel shame to ever express our own vulnerability.
Right.
But it's the first thing you see when somebody's expressing vulnerability is courage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we need to own our own vulnerability because that allows us to be courageous. And when you had that opportunity to let go and be like, we're all human, they did what they needed, what they thought there was to do, what they had to do for whatever was driving them. And I did what I had to do for whatever was driving me. And I can let all that humanity go and just be part of what makes us human.
And a lot of it was that what if, what if that never happened? What if this had, been different? And I'm like, you get stuck in this what if zone instead of just saying, okay, well, what if I let that go and then get going on my future,
Yeah.
Something I can change. It's something I can develop, right? I can't change the past, but I sure can change what happens in the future.
Yeah, you can totally invent it and create it and own it. That's so great. It's so great how free and how fully you realize that, how much it set you free. Because that's what my goal of coaching is to set people free.
Mm-hmm.
So much of my coaching and training is giving people permission to be the humans that they are and letting go of stuff in their way. And then inventing those futures that are so inspiring that you're like, let's go.
Stop waiting, I'm like, oh my gosh, I meet so many amazing people, and it frustrates me because they're keeping themselves chained down. They're not allowing themselves to go forward. And I'm like, you just find someone like Sarah, you find somebody that can help you move forward. I know I did. I got a lot of people, that jumped on my bandwagon to help me get out of my own way. And sometimes you just need to have someone, help you through those moments so that you can move. Because if not, what do you're going to just sit there and wait for something to happen? It doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work. And you're pointing to something very key about coaching and counseling and all these things that really help our performance in life. You're pointing to the fact that we can't solve things alone in our heads. What I tell my clients is, do you need to go spend some time consulting with the unicorn in your brain? It's like this magical beast that doesn't live in reality. And you've had all those conversations before, and there's no new information. It's out loud with others where we get our blind spots exposed because we're blind to them. Everybody else's problems are so easy to see, but our own are so hard to see, right? The coach is very powerful for that.
Absolutely. And I know that you have something amazing to give away to our audience today. What is that?
Well, part of what I do to start people off is, I want to be very clear to say advice and information is often not wanted, people aren't open to that. And that's definitely not part of my coaching. It's all about questions and beautiful space that we create together that allows you to feel like you can tell me what's going on in your world and we can really expose those barriers. And where that starts is with my productivity assessment. We look at 4 different areas where you get energy from: mental, spiritual, like the human spirit, what has meaning for you, physical, and mental, spiritual, and physical. I can't remember the 4th one, but there's 4 of them, and they're where you draw energy in your life. And from those, I'll assess you, and I'm going to give that assessment away today. It's a 2-hour call. It's a really big deal. It puts you through looking at all the different areas of your life. So I call it the productivity or energy assessment. And so if you're interested in taking this assessment with me and learning where there's places where you can be more productive and get more energy, you can email me at Sarah, SARAH, at stretchyourproductivity.com, or you can call me, 587-432-2774. So Sarah at stretchyourproductivity.com or 587-432-2774.
Awesome. Well, I've so enjoyed you being on today and definitely want you to come back. And everyone, I want you to be at the Public Speakers Conference, June 14th through the 17th. I know it's right around the corner, so you got to get yourself moving really quickly. And I'm going to give you, okay, $100 off. All you have to do is push in the coupon code Tonya's TV show and you get $100 off, okay? So there's no excuse to come. Not to come, right? You want to be there. We are going to have 6 and 7 figure speakers, not just training you, but being there and answering any questions. Okay, so these are people that are really determined to make a change for you. You'll be able to not only hear their incredible trainings, experience it, walk away with it, but then also dive down deep and see how you need to move, how you need to change. It's going to be amazing. Plus, I have people who coming to actually book the speakers. So I know some of you are like, oh, I'm not ready for that. It's okay. Just come and get training. But connect, collaborate, have fun. We're going to have margaritas, go down the Riverwalk, and enjoy San Antonio, Texas. We have a blast in June. So June 14th through the 17th. Easy to find out all the details. Go to Public Speakers with an S, conference.com. And you can find out everything. Publicspeakersconference.com. And I want to see you there. I will be there personally. I want to give you a hug and say you can do it because I know you can. So Sarah, thank you so much for being on today, and I hope that you come back on really soon.
Well, thank you so much. It's my great pleasure, and I'm excited for the conference, and I thank you so much, Tonya.
Yay! All right, everybody. We will see you next time. Bye.